Hey guys, before I continue with my topics of Intro to Catholic Apologetics series, I thought that we would better talk about the Protestant Reformation, and in particular the father of the Protestant Reformation, Martin Luther, because if you don't understand the man, you can't understand the Protestant Reformation. So this will be a series of videos. There's no way we can talk about the entire Reformation or even Martin Luther in one video. This one is just going to be kind of a brief overview of his life, and from there we're going to get into kind of the meat of the issues that he had with the church, and the practices that he came up with that caused such division that has resulted in the several thousand denominations that we know today. So Martin Luther was born in 1483 in Saxony, in what was then the Holy Roman Empire and now is Germany. He was a middle class. He was in a middle class family. His father was a copper smelter, and they were very harsh, very shrewd. And Martin's childhood, by all accounts, was not a very happy one. Hans Luther, Martin's father, wanted him to class climb. That was his big ambition for his son, so he insisted that he become a lawyer. Martin really had no desire to be a lawyer, but he was going to do what his dad wanted. So he's all set to become a lawyer when tragedy strikes and about a plague goes through the town where he's in school, and two very close friends of his die, and that had a massive effect on him. And shortly there after that, he was traveling from visiting home back to his college when a freak lightning storm breaks out, and lightning hits so close to his horse that he gets thrown to the ground, and he cries out, "Saint Anne, help me and I'll become a monk," Saint Anne being the mother of Mary. So he is spared, obviously. He lives, and a few weeks later, instead of going to law school, he joined an Augustinian monastery, much to the chagrin of his parents. They were very disappointed about that and let him know it too. Martin Luther suffered from a form of obsessive compulsive disorder called scrupulosity. I've always had a lot of sympathy for Martin Luther because scrupulosity and obsessive compulsive disorder are things that I've struggled with my entire life. So basically, Martin was obsessed with the idea that he was sinful and that he could never be good enough to be saved by God's grace. So he, as in his words, he tried to use his monkishness to earn salvation, essentially. He fasted more than everybody else. He was far more ascetic than his brothers, and the Augustinian order was no joke. That was a very severe order anyway. One time he slept out in the snow until his brothers had to drag him back in because he was about to die from hypothermia. He confessed more than anyone else. So yeah, he was absolutely obsessed with the state of his soul, more so than beyond. It was beyond a religious vocation. It was clearly a disorder. So this is what Martin Luther is struggling with when he gets sent to Rome by his superiors in the Augustinian order. They probably thought it would do him a lot of good, and they were probably a little annoyed with him confessing 6,000 times a day too. So he treks to Rome, gets there, about 3 months later, and what he finds in Rome is even more disheartening. It doesn't. He thinks that he's gonna find the center of the heart of Christendom, and instead he finds clergy that visit brothels, who don't believe in the transfiguration of the Eucharist, who openly mock the sacraments when they think no one's looking. And so after that trip to Rome, he returns back to his order in the Holy Roman Empire, even more disheartened than he was before. And I think that we'll probably stop there. I want to emphasize that Martin Luther was struggling with his own perception of his lack of worthiness for his own salvation. And we'll pick up next time where he finds the solution to his chronic anxiety, which he found in a verse in Romans. And from there, the world kind of gets set on fire. So this one was probably kind of boring, but I promise you the next one's going to get a lot more exciting. Tune in for part 2 of Martin Luther and the Protestant Reformation.